Hey guys, what's going on? It's JB. So I've got the King Hyper 1000 standard here. It comes in two versions. There's the standard and the soft. But I've heard that the standard is pretty soft as it is, so I went with the standard one. The box come in pretty good condition. Sometimes you get these King whetstones or any whetstones in general, and the sides are all smashed in, and then you get it out of the box and there's huge chunks out of it. So it's not the case with this. In perfect condition. There's no huge chunks out the sides. And I've also got a King Deluxe here for comparison purposes. The famous red brick. It's probably been more popular because it's usually the first stone that you've ever owned. You know, if you like whetstones and sharpening knives, you've definitely got one of these laying around. But you don't hear a lot about the King Hyper, so that's another reason I wanted to do one of these videos. Even though they say that the King Hyper is more superior than the King Deluxe. The King Deluxe retails at around 36 bucks Australian, and the King Hyper at about 50 bucks. It's got the measurements of each stone on the bottom here. The Hyper is 4 millimeters wider than the Deluxe, but the Deluxe is actually longer. Let's open the King Hyper. So the opinion's divided on whether or not this is a splash and go or a soaking stone. The rule of thumb is if the water doesn't get soaked up and pools on the top, it's a splash and go. And if it soaks it up, it's a soaking stone. But because this is fresh out of the box, it's probably going to be pretty thirsty anyways, and it might behave a little weird. With most stones that I get fresh out of the box, regardless of if they're a splash and go or not, I like to give them a little soak anyways. So it's a pretty thick stone. It's going to definitely last you a long time. If you want to preserve the logo on the front, you can probably just start sharpening on the other side. Most people do that. So it says on the website to soak it for 15 minutes before your first use. So it's been soaking for 15 minutes, and I don't know if you can see, but these little bubbles here are the only bubbles that it's produced. You know, like you pop a soaking stone in there and it just goes mad. There's lots of activity, but not with this. So to give you an example about what I mean with the bubbles, I'm going to put this King Deluxe 1000 in here. Yeah, watch that go crazy. But the King Hyper didn't do that. With any new stone, it's definitely a good idea to put on a lapping plate, because they're not guaranteed to come flat, and sometimes they come with a bit of skin on the surface too that can affect your knife sharpening. So yeah, it's a good idea to flatten it before you use it. Alright, let's sharpen this knife on it and see how it performs. I can already tell that it's a fast cutter. It's removing a lot of material quite quickly. So after a couple of minutes of sharpening, you can see that it's taken off quite a lot of metal. Alright, let's rinse this off. Quick rinse off under the tap. There's not much loading. You can see there's a few bits of swarf here. It raised the burr pretty quickly. It didn't really take too long. Alright, let's put this on the honing steel and do some tests on it. So in my opinion, I think this is a pretty weird stone, to be honest. If you've already owned one of these, you'll probably agree with me. But it cuts fast, gets a sharp edge on your knife. For the thickness and the price, you can't go wrong. Cheers, guys.